This episode of UDSP is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to audible.com/GameBreaker. Not only are you getting 30 days, you're getting a free book, too.
GameBreaker TV.
Yeah, hello Internet, and welcome to episode 41 of Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet for April 2nd, 2014. You're watching GameBreaker TV. I'm Mike Byrne, and on today's show, the Dome of Slaughter finally revealed. We enter the halls of the Bloodsworn, and once again, we journey into the box. What's in the box, Forehead? What's in the box? All that and more. But first, joining me, not from an airport, Mr. Farhan Siddiqui. How are you, sir?
Good. Yes, glad to be back. Glad to talk about some of the PvPs.
Yes,
there's more to talk about, which is wonderful.
You were like all stuck in an airport and stuff last weekend.
Like trying to brainstorm, and like, I could do an audio feed, and you're like, no, just got it covered. So don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We're fine. Yeah. So Farhan sends me an email. He's like, hey, I'm stuck in an airport. I'm like, okay, we'll get Justin to do the show, and Justin did a great job. He loves WildStar, has been writing about it for a while. And then Farhan sends me an email. It's like, hey, the airport internet isn't really that bad. I mean, I could probably Skype on it if you want to put a picture of me up. I'm like, we're not doing this Weather Channel stuff. No, we'll be fine. We'll see you next week. It's no big deal.
The thing is that I was typing that email as you were telling me that Justin was going to fill in, so I felt like a dick right after I clicked send, and I saw that. Like, I immediately, it looks like seconds after you tell me that Justin's going to fill in, I'm like, hey, you know what would be better? An audio feed of me.
Live via Skype. Farhan Siddiqui. Would have been awesome. I was just like, no, we'll be fine. We already got it sorted out. But we did talk PvP last week, and you were kind of bummed out because you really, really have been wanting to talk about PvP, and then you got stuck in the airport. So last week we talked about Walatiki, the Walatiki Temple battleground. Justin and I kind of covered it in depth and the changes they've made in some of the betas with the new tunnels, because it used to be a mess. I mean, it was just a huge cluster. Everybody was in the middle, crater bowl, and it was just telegraphs galore. Then they added the second gate in the spawn area so that everybody wasn't funneling through the same places. So there were a lot of changes over time based on feedback. You weren't here last week, and I want to give you a chance. What are your thoughts on Walatiki Temple?
So yeah, I really love the new changes. I like that, especially my favorite thing. The spawn camping thing was something that was happening. It was really okay, if one side was obviously much better than the other side, then they were going to be able to spawn camp you. Which, I mean, it's nice that there's a way around that, which is good. There was a way to get out without being spawn camped. It just wasn't obvious. You could click on. There was a little portal that looked like just a decal, a decorative non-functional thing. Oh, that's how you got into the battleground or whatever. If you actually clicked on the portal before, it would teleport you out a little bit further away, so that you could get out without actually walking down. But people didn't really know about that. Anyway, now you can drop out.
Well, it's not exactly user-friendly.
Yeah, it's not obvious that, if you click on a portal, it'll take you somewhere. But anyway.
Out loud. I don't know. I apologize, man. She's going nuts. The damn birds. It's spring and... Oh.
He's excited for the WildStar PvP.
I guess. Yes. She's much better at it than I am. So
okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So there's another place to draw down, which is great. But what I really like is the tunnels that they have for if you hang a left or I guess a right, whichever way. Okay. So if you're on your way into the room, it'd be on your right. If you're on your way out of the flag room, it'd be on your left. Anyway.
Way to narrow that down. If you hang a left.
Left or the right.
No, it's right.
There's a cave, okay?
Well, it's one of them. It's one of them. It's left or right. I'm sure it's left or right. It's one of those.
But it's an alternate way to get out of the base. It's a little bit more roundabout, but it's nice because before, whenever you would steal a flag, you just come waltzing out of the base right out the front door, and everyone would just see you there and be like, okay. And that's also the way that they're going to be bringing in their mass. So then you just you run into them and it's like, okay, what the hell was the point? Unless you had like a more coordinated team to begin with, at which point you didn't really even need to be stealing the mass. But anyway, so now that you have this way around it, it's actually quite nice because then you're like, okay, I actually have like an alternate route that I can take. That okay, if my team tells me, okay, there's people up in the front door, then I can take the side route. If they're hanging around the middle of the base, then maybe I can just go out the front anyway because it's a little bit faster. So there's a little bit of strategy now involved in that. And I also like the way that they have like flattened out the base a little bit more. It just makes it a lot more clear communication wise, as opposed to be like, okay, because I'd be on Mumble with some people trying to talk with them as I'm playing, and they say, okay, I'm on the west side. I'm like, okay, you're on the west, but are you on the first, second, or third level
right
of the thing? And you're like, I don't know. I'm on the dirt ground. Everything is dirt ground. You realize that. So now there's a little bit like there's some like art assets so that you can say like, oh, I'm near like the tiki mask, or I'm near like the grassy area over here or something.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, okay, I know where they are. And so communication wise, it's much better, and it's also just visibly like you can actually see where people are going a little bit better. So that's really nice.
I really like that all the changes really seem to come from player feedback, which to me
Yeah.
like shows a lot of potential for the future and for the other battlegrounds and the other arenas and even the PvE. I mean, just Carbine I've been really impressed with the entire development cycle and their willingness to accept feedback and change things, maybe more so than some other companies. I want to talk maybe a little bit later about the PR hype train because I think that really needs to start. I mean, I know they're kind of shying away right now because of another MMO's release in a day or two, but we're running out of time. And if you're watching this show, you know about WildStar, and you've probably been following it for a while, but it kind of concerns me the amount of traffic WildStar content really pulls. It's not out there even for mainstream MMOers. So we'll talk about that later. We're on PvP right now. So let's move on to some new stuff.
I mean, to what you were just saying, though, about the changes that they're making, it's actually like really to their credit that a lot of feedback went into these Walatiki changes. Like a lot of people were talking about how they needed another way out. They needed another like to flatten out the landscape of the thing a little bit more and make things a little bit easier to see visibly and to actually play. And it was like crowded before. It was really easy for there to be a lot of choke points, so that the AoE nature of the telegraphs would become sort of like a mess. It'd be really hard to play strategically. And to their credit, like, they actually recognized that because it wasn't in the works. Like this wasn't like an intended thing that they were like, okay, we're going to put out this version of the map, and then we're going to take feedback, and then we're going to change it. It was like because the initial response that Carbine had to like all of the things were like, we don't have time before launch to change this map up, so we're going to try to make some small tweaks to the way that the map works, but we're not going to change the layout of the map. And then like it just sort of people were like, oh, okay, well that sort of sucks. It's going to be sort of like a mediocre map. And then, just like out of nowhere, they posted like a screenshot of like the new spawn point, and we're like, oh, that's cool. They changed the spawn point, and then the patch actually comes out, and there's like this tunnel, and there's like all this other stuff. It's like, what did you guys do? I thought you said that you weren't going to be able to. And they're like, no, we realized you guys were right. The map wasn't as good as it could be, and they improved it. So that
Dreadrod
really...
from chat says you could say the devs are listening.
You could say that.
You could say that, Dreadrot. You're absolutely right. All right, so let's talk about some more PvP here in the hilariously named Slaughterdome Arena. Dare I say,
that's what it is.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves?
That's definitely the vibe that it gives. Yeah. I mean, like, I like the map a lot, but... It is just to get it out of the way, it is a little disappointing that there's only one arena map for launch. Like, that's just like, oh, like...
2 men enter,
really?
1 man leaves? Chat? No? All right. Fine.
You have to wait for the Twitch delay to see the chat.
All right,
you gotta wait like an hour.
There's 2 teams at least with the whole team, and this we talked about this pre-show a little bit. Yeah. The whole team shares a respawn count, which is fantastic when you get a guy like me on your PvP team, that we all now have to share the lives. This just seems like a really awesome way to get yourself yelled at if you PvP like I do.
I really like the respawn system, just because, and it was actually like really interesting to hear about it in the AMA that they did just like last week, like right before you guys recorded the episode. They did the AMA, and they were talking about why they put in the respawn system, or sorry, I guess you would call it the respawn system, the lives system in Arena. And their response was that, like, okay, like early on when they were first starting to test Arena, like the class balance was so like out of whack that like time to kill was really really low. Like no kidding, class balance wasn't amazing. Well, I don't know. He did say that the balance in this game is perfect.
Yes,
So-
it's
so there's
100% on point.
But even if the balance is perfect, like I guess the numbers were they're all too high. Like equally high damage numbers for everyone.
Everybody is overpowered, but they're equally overpowered.
Overpowered. That's what they were.
Everybody's on a level overpowered playing field.
It's like it's a hoverboard field. They're just floating too high. Anyway,
Arena teams, they're given a rating, and that's how the matchmaking's going to work. I know the balance is perfect, but we're going to use an ELO ranking, which is pretty standard, right? We see that in most MMOs. But unfortunately, sometimes fairly standard things don't actually make it into the MMO game when it comes out. So it is good to hear that this is going to be there at launch. We do see a lot of MMO games lately doing we're going to put in PvP and then we're going to put in ratings and stuff like that, but that's going to come later. So it's nice to see that this stuff's already cooking and ready to go so that it's there on day one. We got a couple of screenshots. I'm going to show them. You want to talk about these, Arena? You spent a good time on this map, haven't you?
Yeah, I did, and it's pretty good. I like the layout that they have there with some of the line of sight blockers and some of the other things. There have been moments where like some of the stuff is a little bit buggy, where you can actually still shoot through a wall if you have a long enough telegraph. But I'm sure that's getting sorted out.
There's no bugs in beta. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I know. Right, but
this is the arena we saw on the PvP DevSpeak too.
It is, and in that live stream when they were doing the Frost versus Pappy event. I mean, it is the only arena map, so it's a little bit just like, oh, but yeah, I mean, it's at least it's a good map that they came in with. It's not like two plane. It doesn't really have like any really really crazy stuff going on. Like there aren't fire pits or something that's gonna do environmental damage or something to you, which I appreciate that they don't have like a lot of the really silly gimmick stuff that some or other arena maps have had at times.
In less than 4 seconds, Farhan has pissed off every Star Wars The Old Republic player that watches this show.
No, but that's totally fine in a battleground. I just don't like it in arena.
Why not?
Yeah.
I think it adds a little extra there. I mean, don't go crazy with it, but
I can appreciate a little bit of it, but if there was only going to be one map, I'd rather it not have gimmicks. Yeah, maybe if they, on their fourth map, throw in a gimmick, whatever. But the first view, just have them a little bit plainer, a little bit more, core gameplay based. Because I want to play the actual WildStar combat. I don't want to just, go crazy with it. But yeah, so the map is good. I like it does. I haven't actually gotten a chance to play it in 5v5 mode. I'm not sure. Like I feel like it might be a little bit crowded at 5v5 versus 2v2 and 3v3. I thought it felt pretty good. So that was good.
Yeah, it is tight. I would imagine that 5v5 it turns into a telegraph bottle of hell, just all over the entire place.
On the bright side, in terms of viewing usability sense, they did add in a setting in the latest patch, which is like currently hidden in the console. You have to like read patch notes and know to type in commands to be able to do it.
Don't put stuff in the patch notes if you want players to know about it.
It's brand new tech that they just put in to be able to limit other players' particle effects so that the screen doesn't get too crazy, which is I think one of the things that really hurts WildStar PvP, at least on YouTube, and I guess to some extent Twitch, probably even more so on Twitch, is that the colors and the particle effects are so vibrant that it completely just destroys any of the video compression techniques that YouTube and Twitch use. It just looks like a complete mess compared to when you're actually playing the game. It actually looks like you can actually tell what's going on if you get a little bit of experience and you're playing it. Like it's busy, but it's like okay, I can tell what's going on in a 3v3 arena. In a YouTube video, it's like
It looks
the compression.
You're
all the
right. It
colors,
looks like a
little
freaking disco
bubbles
party.
going up. There's balloons.
Yeah, you can't tell.
You get Jasper in there, it's just a mess.
It just looks. Carbine also showed off the second and final, I should say, launch battleground. So this will be Halls of the Bloodsworn. It's a capture and defend. One team proceeds through a series of rooms. The other team defends, and then everybody switches up, and we compare scores at the end. Since we already have pissed off Star Wars: The Old Republic fans, WildStar, it's that type of PvP matchup. Have you gotten a chance to get into this one at all? I mean,
yeah. I played quite a lot of Halls of the Bloodsworn. I mean, once you got past level 50, and then it was popping a fair amount of the time. I know that I think that a lot of people didn't like it as much as Walatiki, at least at first. It didn't feel as rewarding because it was it's a much longer battleground, obviously, than Walatiki, because there's this attacking phase and then there's a defending phase. And
it's objective based rather than battle based.
It would be like around 40 minutes compared to Walatiki, which is like 10-ish. Maybe 12.
Now, there is a little bit of a twist here. I mean, I compared it to WildStar, and in concept, yes, go through the rooms and get to the objective, turn around and defend those rooms. So in concept, fine. But that's kind of where the comparison stops, because there's a whole bunch of mobility in this map with the jump pads and the multiple levels of playing. It's not just one level burst your way through, which really changes the hell out of this. You wouldn't think it'd be that big a deal, but it really changes the entire dynamic of strategy.
So Star Wars WildStar was a very when the defending team finally screws up, or you just sort of push your way through, then you plant a bomb on the door, and as long as you can defend the bomb a little bit, you're pretty much going to go through that door. You're going to get to the next room. In WildStar's Halls of the Bloodsworn, it's a much more progressive thing. Like it's not like, okay, you put the bomb down, you're guaranteed almost to get to the next door. It's more of okay, I've captured a point, I've started to earn ticker points towards progressing to controlling that room. And so it's a much more gradual thing. There's this feeling, okay, they captured this point, we have time to go recap it or to do whatever, instead of it just being oh crap, they capped the left door. Now, we're screwed because we're just going to have to move on to the next door or whatever. That's the feeling that I got in WildStar a lot, because it felt like this really, really tense thing where it's just okay, are they going to get the bomb? Are they going to get the bomb? Are they going to get the bomb? And then it just moves forward. Whereas this is sort of okay, they captured. So there's 2 secondary objectives and 1 primary objective in each of the rooms. I mean, the layout is different between each room, which is also nice compared to the WildStar, which is much more similar. But I mean, they were different in each room. But anyway, so there's 2 secondary objectives and 1 primary one.
You are determined to just totally piss off all Star Wars fans.
I liked WildStar. Okay,
WildStar, everything looked the same, WildStar. And it was
and Hotball is amazing. I mean, chat is blowing up about Hotball being good. There's nothing in WildStar like Hotball yet. Please do it.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be done.
Yes.
Jeremy Gaffney is already having somebody work on that type of gameplay.
Apparently I might need to go buy that hat to tip to you, because in the AMA they were we're looking at the MOBA battleground. I'm oh, damn it. Damn it.
Yes, right, I told you.
We'll see. It's not out yet. Yeah.
You better pre-order that hat, baby. There's gonna be a little hat tipping on a future UDSP. Go ahead. I'm gonna show some. Since you're talking about the map, I'm gonna actually show some pictures of it while you're chatting here.
Great. So there's 2 secondary objectives. I mean, that's a picture of the big door. You're probably showing first when you go through. And the second picture is actually also pretty cool, because it's oh, I didn't ever notice this art that's in the background. There's giant Osen guy with the hammer or whatever. But anyway, so what you can see in the second picture is there's that little console that's on the side, and this is the thing when you first go into that battleground. Almost all of the action is directed towards the secondary objectives, which is seems sort of bizarre, but it seems like that is the thing to do. There's these consoles, you interact with it. Once you have fully interacted with it, then it starts ticking off points for your side, for the attacking side. The defending side can recap it to stop those points from going through, but otherwise it seems like all the action is there. But there's also this primary objective, in the center, usually. Yeah. So in the first room, it's in the center middle. In the second room, it's on the bottom level, and then the third level is also in the bottom level, in the center. But there's this pad that you that you can stand on, and if you're standing on it, then it's more like a king of the hill mechanic, where whichever team has more points is or more players on the point is going to be earning points towards their progression. So, well, I guess the defenders can't really reverse the direction, but if the defenders have more, then the attackers won't get any points from that. So it's really weird because the secondary objectives are very like, okay, I can coordinate like a CC train on the guy that's defending it and quickly cap the node, and then I start getting points. And as long as they defend the node from them doing the same thing to us, we're okay. And the primary objective is very like, okay, we need to push them off of the node. That we can't let them stand on it. So there's these two really, really different feelings to it. And I think that once players get more experience in the map, it's going to be a lot more interesting. It's going to be a lot more competitive because there's that balancing act. Because you only have 10 players on each side. How do you divert your resources? Do you have people fighting over the primary node trying to keep the attackers? Because that's actually like, if you are on a worse team than the other team and you're attacking, just go for the primary node. Because as long as you're standing there, you're probably okay, right? You're going to make some progress. So many times I've seen people only fighting over the secondary nodes, and they don't get any points at all. They just get like shut down in the first room.
It's going to be really easy to find me in this game, by the way. I'll be the asshole off to the side by myself, trying to do who God knows what. Yeah, I'll be very easy to find there. I actually really like this type of mode. Now, WildStar in Star Wars had its own problems because some of the classes were just not well tuned for this, and they were ridiculously powerful. But we all know that the balance in WildStar is perfect, so that shouldn't be a problem here. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this type of PvP, this capture, defend, back and forth. I just like the style of it. Granted, it is a little longer, but I'm cool with it. What's your favorite type? Are you okay with this style, or you tend to go for the shorter Walatiki type matches?
I do prefer Walatiki, I think, to Halls of the Bloodsworn. I do like Halls of the Bloodsworn. It's a very different experience.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, I think one thing that players maybe don't realize until they've actually gotten into it is that you're actually going to have a different limited action set, most likely, between your Walatiki set and your Halls of the Bloodsworn set, which I really like. It's like, okay, it's actually playing up the mechanics of the limited action set.
Right.
You don't just have, unless you're like a DPS medic, you're probably going to have almost the exact same thing. But for everyone else, you probably are going to switch a few things out here and there because, like mobility is important in Walatiki. It's like key, very, very key to get around the map, to get to wherever the objectives are. In Halls of Bloodsworn, it's important, but it's not as important as being able to like crowd control train or, on the other hand, maybe interrupt armor or something else to prevent yourself so that you can because you just have to ping them once on the secondary objectives to stop them from capping. And vice versa, you might have like a warrior who is really, really built for crowd control but not as mobile or something. That would be pretty bad in Walatiki Temple, but it'd be actually pretty good in Halls of Bloodsworn. So that's one thing I really like.
Which map do you like overall? I got to go with Walatiki post changes. It is a just pretty dynamic map, and it would have been my least favorite had those changes not been made. But out of the three that we've seen and been able to touch so far, Walatiki it's not even close in my book. Am I nuts, or are you on the same page here?
Oh, I mean, I think it's hard to compare Arena to.
No, I'm just talking about
Walatiki.
the map itself, not the way it plays, just the overall map itself.
So you mean old Walatiki, new Walatiki, and Halls of Bloodsworn?
No, go Walatiki, Halls of Bloodsworn, the Dome, Slaughterhouse Dome.
Slaughterdome's the Arena.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm just talking about the map itself, the lay of the land. Which one of the three is your favorite? Good God, Farhan!
Walatiki.
It's not that hard a question. Which map do you like the best?
Okay. Walatiki. Go with that one.
Good answer. All right, so let's set the map aside for a minute.
Ask me about a bar graph.
If I let you put up another bar graph, the show will be canceled. Gary will take it off the air immediately. As far as amount of PvP content, this seems good for me as far as launch, especially, they've already teased a pretty aggressive update cycle, so we're likely to get a new map or two pretty quickly compared to a lot of other MMOs. To me, this is good enough for launch. You?
I think they would be well served to get in one of the first two updates. Like in the first 2 months, I think they should put out that other, the battleground that they sort of hinted at. They sort of had a little teaser of it in the little dev speak video. They just like when the person's queuing up for a battleground, there's 3 options in the list as opposed to 2, and it's just like, huh, what are they doing there? I don't know how close that is, obviously. We haven't heard anything about it besides that one little teaser about how soon it'll come out. But I do hope that another one comes out because, I mean, like for a player like you and me, who is probably going to, at least at launch, be playing mostly PvE and like
Right.
sort of like fiddling around with PvP. Later on, I'll really get into the PvP, but at least at launch, I'm going to be leveling up. I'm going to be doing the dungeons and adventures mostly, and I'll like play Battlegrounds when I don't have friends online because I don't want to do like a lot of questing. I want to just minimize the questing experience and get the Battleground experience in.
That's so unfortunate too, but it's just I don't think they're gonna be
Hey,
making...
at least it's an option. I don't have to fate grind for. I mean,
you didn't do that. You didn't just do that. Oh. Oh, it's so terrible, Forehead. It's so bad.
That's why I quit XIV. I like the game, but it's like
So
I hate
bad.
fate grinding so much. It's just, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, now they have a relic weapon
I get
upgrade
it.
quest with an
I get it,
RNG roll
yeah.
tied to the fates. Oh, God. I hate you. I can't believe you went there. Well, we did get, you were talking about like hints there. We did get a pretty obvious hint about like a sabotage mode thing. What the hell is this little guy all about?
So they have the teaser in the DevSpeak, and then they had some people data mined out a map that just is called like Sabotage Battleground or something like that. And so they're like, oh, what is this thing? It looks sort of like Walatiki in the layout. It's like a circular middle and some things on the side, but it's not Walatiki, obviously, because you know it's different. But it's still somewhat similar. So people were asking about it, and the only response that they given is like a little like emoticon of like a
Right.
kind of thing. It's just like, yeah, okay, they're teasing us.
Yeah,
There
I
is
am
another background to the
so
works.
making a gif of what you just did there. it's gonna be the Farhand WildStar wiggle. All right, before we talked about the box last week, we still don't know what's in the box. Well, we do, but we're gonna talk about that. Before we do, though, gotta give a shout out to our sponsor today, Audible. We're giving away 30-day free trials and a free audiobook if you use this URL, audible.com/GameBreaker. If you're not familiar with this service, then this is probably your first GameBreaker show. We're delighted to have them as a sponsor. Now, I've actually got up. Here's some A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones series. Reverse that. The A Song of Ice and Fire series, Game of Thrones. Because, yes, in 4 days, the new season will be coming out. So these are awesome if you want to catch up, get ahead of where the plot line is. These are fantastic for when I'm driving to and from Pennsylvania and to New Jersey and New York. Let me just
Books
throw
on
you a little
Tape presents
sample for you here.
A Game of Thrones, Book 1 of A Song of Ice and Fire, by George R. Martin, read by Roy Dotrice. Prologue. "We should start back," Garrett urged, as the woods began to grow dark around them. "The wildlings are dead." "Do the dead frighten you?" Sir Waymar Royce asked, with just the hint of a smile.
I love when those narrators start putting the voices in there for each individual character. So you've got plenty of time to hear this. 33 hours and 50 minutes just for book 1. So if you need to catch up and you're going to be doing some driving, or if you're going to, maybe do some fate grinding, you want to have something on in the background, this is definitely a great service. So happy to have them on here as a sponsor. Audible.com. If you haven't checked it out, please do. Best way to support GameBreaker is to support our sponsors, and Audible's been one for a long time. Check them out, audible.com/GameBreaker. Get yourself a free book and have some fun there while you're fate grinding, Farhan. Last week we
It would have
mentioned
been a lot more bearable.
Last week we mentioned the box, and what's in the box? And...
Wait, before we get to the box,
that's right. You wanted to talk.
I wanted to talk
some...
about itemization.
Yeah, itemization and PvP. Go ahead.
Did you guys talk about that? How do you feel about PvP gear and PvE gear?
Yeah, so we talked about the whole PvP defense and PvP offense stats on the gear, and that being 50% of the gear's overall stats. So really, yes, you can swap and use PvE gear in PvP, but you're at a 50% disadvantage, and the same if you use the PvP gear and the PvE stuff. It's old school, and so I'm okay with it because I'm very familiar with, resistance and all kinds of different PvP stats and things like that. I think we've seen a number of MMOs try different things to get around that now, and none of them have really, really succeeded at it. There's been some success and some failure. So I'm okay with having to get 2 different sets if that's what I want to do, because to me, WildStar is going to have a huge PvP-only audience and a huge PvE-only audience and a very minute audience that's going to do really hardcore both sides. And so I think those people that really want to do that, they're okay with having, like you're okay with, hey, I'm going to play this game anyway. It's just more stuff for me to do. Let me go get the gear so that I can PvP, and let me go get the gear so I can PvE. There's always the danger of it becoming a grind that's unbearable, but it's nowhere near Fates. So to me, it's okay. What about you?
So I was at first okay with it, especially with the initial implementations that they had. I thought it was a little bit weak on like the way that it was in the game. So the way that PvP defense and offense works in the game currently is that PvP defense basically is just like a percent modifier that reduces the amount of damage you take from other player source damage. So if a player is hitting you, then it only reduces that much damage versus a mob hitting you won't do anything. PvP offense doesn't actually amplify your damage. It does so indirectly by just, it's as if your opponent has that much less PvP defense.
Yeah, it's a negation statistic.
It's like a strike through kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the same way that works with deflect. So anyway, the numbers that they were at were a little bit small. So every single player starts out with some percentage of PvP defense and a smaller percentage of PvP offense. That's just to make the hit points go a little bit slower in in PvP versus PvE. Now, where I got a little bit concerned was when they said that they're turning it up to 50%.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't really a big huge deal in arenas and battlegrounds and other. I mean, obviously, it makes the gear much more optimal in PvP scenarios and much less optimal in PvE scenarios than PvE gear. But
which is their objective here. I mean, that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Now, what I was concerned was in world PvP, because it still works in world PvP. It still works exactly the same. But I probably don't want to be sitting out there questing at 50% itemization,
right, and get
in
shanked.
my PvP gear in case I get ganked by a stalker who's running around or whatever. And honestly,
chat's asking that now. What about endgame? What's endgame on a PvP server? What's it looking like?
Yeah, and that's a little bit worrisome because it's okay, do I run around only in my PvP gear because I don't want to get ganked? Because it does seem like a pretty significant proportion. But so basically, I did some of the math on it just to see, because they say that 50% of the itemization.
You don't have a chart, do you?
I have an Excel sheet, but there's no charts yet.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
I was like, oh, do I need to use this today? All right, whatever. Anyway, and the numbers are rough anyway. So because we don't know exactly what it is. It's going to be coming in the April patch that the new 50% numbers come in. But I just
remember, I'm just going to your website and copying your build here. So break it down for me the way you would for your site.
Okay, so basically, if something says 50% itemization, that doesn't mean you're going to do half damage against a opponent. I want to say that first, because that was my first gut feeling. It's okay, I'm going to do half damage, but that's not true, because about if you are in a full PvE spec, about 2/3 of your damage is going to be coming from your gear, and about 1/3 of it's going to be coming just from your level, because they added that natural scaling with just your level to make things a little bit easier, a little bit less gear dependent, which was nice, and is a nice effect on this specifically. It makes it a little bit less. Secondly, it's not completely clear yet if that's going to affect weapons in the way that everyone expects. I don't think that they're going to take an 1800 assault power weapon and make it a 900 assault power weapon, because that would be just that would be
ridiculously
a
drastic,
really, really, really big cut in damage. So what I expect is that the weapons are actually going to be mostly the same. What it will really affect is on your chest piece, or on your gloves, or even on the weapon. They have some brutality, they have some tech, they have some moxie. All those primary stats will actually get cut into a little bit, because they already had PvP, defense or PvP offense on those items. Usually an item didn't have both on it, which is a new thing. Now all items will have both instead of only having one, which honestly I'm not really a huge fan of, but I'll get in, whatever. Both everything will scale up, so basically you don't have some pieces of gear which are really defensive, some pieces of gear which are more offensive. I like that, but whatever. They're getting rid of it. So basically, you'll have a little bit less...
That's probably why, too. They were like, does Farhand like this? Cut it out. Let's just take it out.
Take it out. Get it out.
Put these stats in. Give him a new Excel sheet to work on. He'll be happy. He won't even pay attention to the fact that we removed this from the game.
So basically, those stats will be decreased a little bit. But it's still not as much of a decrease, because the way that the itemization system in WildStar works is that if you have more stats on a single piece of gear, like if you have like 5 stats on a piece of gear versus a piece of gear that only has 3 stats, it just gets a little bit more power associated with it. So it's not like it's splitting, like if you have 100 points of itemization, you just split it evenly 3 ways or something. It's like, okay, instead of splitting it into 5 now, we're going to say, okay, multiply it by some multiplier first and then divide it into whatever stats. So it still doesn't get as hurt. So basically what I'm saying is that, just doing some really ballpark rough math, you're probably actually going to be doing only around 15 to 20% less damage, which is still pretty significant, but it's not going to
But it's not a guaranteed kill in world PvP.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge advantage for the person who is in PvP gear if they're trying to gank you. First of all, they have the ganking advantage, but second of all, they're in the thing. But the thing is that you will probably only, like if I decide to defend myself, I want to actually quest in PvP gear, I'm still probably going to be able to do my questing just fine.
Right.
In that gear, which was my main concern was going into that. I was like, oh, how is that going to work out? It'll probably be mostly all right in that respect, because you're probably only going to lose between 5 and I think what JTAL said in the AMA was that it's like 5 and 15% of like your primary stats are going to be cut down a little bit.
Which is still survivable as far as PvE content and general questing goes.
Yeah. So PvP servers will still probably, it'll be a little bit rougher if you decide to actually go in and quest on your PvP set, but it'll be doable. And you probably will, if you're actually able to earn the PvP gear, you're probably better in PvE as well. So there you go.
All right, moving on. Last week we talked about what's in the box. So I want to welcome you to What's in the Box, Part 2, the boxing. David Bass did come out. He came through, gave us a little more information. If you've been in the beta, you've noticed some of the different information coming out that if you're actually doing the beta, you're going to get these lovely boxes that have some prizes in them. And we didn't know what the hell they're called or what the prizes were. Well, David Bass did come out and tease some of the rewards you can expect to see here. And now they have a title. They're called Boom Boxes, which, okay, yeah, that totally fits the WildStar theme and the naming.
Oh, no, just went to Pappy. What should we name the reward box?
Boom box. Boom, baby. Now, there's definitely some nice rewards here, and all you got to do to get them is participate in the beta, which, hey, great. Give me an extra bonus on top of the bonuses that I'm getting for the pre-order. I think it's a really cool way to say, hey, don't forget, there's a beta weekend coming up. We need you to go and test it. Could you please do that? We'll give you even more extra stuff. I'm going to show some of these because some of them are just ridiculous, which is perfect. So first up, let's take a look at the Entertainer Mount customization set. Wait till you see this.
That thing is styling.
Yes! Look at that boy. The disco ball. And the boom
have
box
lights
on the
that
side.
you can turn on and actually have it reflect.
That's fantastic. I would totally drive around in this. I like how in all the mount shots here too, they're taken in front of a rainbow. It's very classy stuff.
I didn't even.
Every single one is taken in front of a rainbow.
That is the best housing sky available.
It is beautiful. Are you gonna roll around in the entertainer mount?
Yeah.
Ah, you hesitated. No, you're not.
You know what? I'll break it out when we're waiting for somebody after a raid. Just like, oh, come on, run back to your corpse already.
All right, how about this one? Also, all these, again, they're going to be possible potential rewards in the boom boxes. It's all you get just for participating in beta. So go participate in beta. Take a look at this one. How's this one do for you? It's the War Pig, couple variants here. This is one of them for the Savage War Pig. Got the zebra striping on there, very Timon and Pumbaa kind of thing going on in this picture here. Again, the rainbow of joy in the background. This one doing a little better for you over the Entertainer mount?
You know what? I like this next one that's going to be coming up right after that.
Oh, you like the second variant here. So this is also for the Savage War Pig, just a different version there.
Yeah, I like it. It's very colorful, and I think it would be probably the most amusing to just be walking around in.
How about this? We took a look at some of the raiding gear on last week's show. How about a Raiden costume set? Boom.
Like literally Raiden.
Raiden, get it? A Raiden costume set.
I like how they just very subtly got around that copyright thing by calling it a Raiden set.
Make it IN and put an apostrophe there. We'll totally be legally okay. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, it's nice rewards, and you don't have to do anything to get them except play the damn game, and that's what they want you to do right now. I was a little concerned here, though, when David's saying that boomboxes will be used for a variety of rewards throughout the entire lifespan of the game.
Yeah. They just open up a can of worms. Right there.
Yeah. And that logging in during pre-order is only the first way you're going to earn these. Now, last week, we had a quote from Jeremy Gaffney about them, and we shared it on the show saying that this was not a secret Trojan horse for microtransactions. But it's fortunate we saw that quote, right? Because this kind of sounds exactly like it's going to be microtransactions the way David said it.
I mean, if you look at the the official forum post, like they posted the thing, the first person responded is like, "Is this going to be a microtransaction?"
Right.
They were probably like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing."
I wonder if the marketing team right now is just like, I can't believe you said that, Jeremy. We were gonna use these for microtransactions. I can't believe you said that. So if you ever need to reference it, guys, UDSP episode 40, we shared the quote saying these weren't gonna be used for microtransactions. We'll see.
I mean, it is nice of them to make that clear that okay, this. They're not going to have the mystery boxes with you open up with the key and you have to go farm the keys and or buy the keys or whatever, and you just get these things in your inventory that you can't open.
So how do you think they're going to actually be implemented? Knowing that Jeremy said they're not going to be microtransactions right now, the only way to get them is participate in beta, but they do intend to use these. I really don't want another RNG element in the game here, but
I wonder if they'll use them to do the same kind of thing to when they say put up a public test realm and they want to have some testing done over there. Maybe it's in a way to incent that. Just be like, if you log in over there and you play for however much amount of time, on your actual character, you'll get one of these boom boxes, which is like it's a nice way to be like, oh, okay, that's an easy way to get a little bit of testing done, because I know that's in the works. Cougar, their server operations guy, has said that they are setting up. They're going to be ready so that they actually have a public test realm, which is sort of important. I don't know if you were
just
actually
kind of a big
this
deal
last weekend,
right?
But there were some patch updates that were not really improving experience. It was more like a unimprovement.
Yeah, and maybe they'll be used as even just on the normal servers as well. Kind of the same thing. We got some new content. Come on back, check it out. We'll give some free boom boxes away. Holiday events. That could be a good one. If you get your ass away from your family on December 25th and come into WildStar instead, we'll give you a boom box. Log in Christmas Day, boom, 10 boom boxes. Here you go. There's a
separating families.
WildStar breaking everybody up for the holidays. Mr. Boombox himself. Mr. Farhan Siddiqui. You can follow him on Twitter at Unindel, UNINDEL, and he'll give you the tips on where all of his secret spreadsheets are. Good show, sir. Thanks for coming. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1. That's MAGICKMANN1. Of course, follow GameBreaker TV while you're there. And until next week, gang, stay safe. We'll see you out on the servers.